Welcome everyone. I'm Todd Bromley, Judges Committee Chair. We're meeting today to discuss Test Refresh. This is an initiative that was started over 2 years ago. I would like to thank Eric Hampton, Test Committee Chair, and Lynn Goldman, Task Force Chair, for their extensive work on this important initiative that will impact all moves in the field tests, free skating tests for both singles and pairs, and all dance tests.
Thank you, Todd. And thank you, Lynn, for your help with this project and for your assistance in seminars and with this series of videos. The Test Refresh project has previously aligned test elements with well-balanced program competition requirements and also introduced the option of achieving test credit through IJS protocol. This series of videos will cover the third and final phase of the project, which will be implemented September 2nd, 2018. While there will be some changes, our test standards and expectations will remain the same. In this overview video, we'll cover the following topics. The updated marking scale, which involves translating a mark on the 6-0 scale to a mark on the -3 to +3 scale. 2 new passing categories, Pass with Honors and Pass with Distinction. And 3 marks, Element Skating Program for Free Skate, Pair, and Free Dance tests, and 3 marks, Technique, Timing, Expression for Pattern Dance tests. And the removal of serious error restriction rules, which mandated a retry test result. We have also developed a handbook for tests. This is a new resource for all things tests, covering the aspects just mentioned, with marking translation examples and presentation of test rules, test expectation standards, test requirements, and definitions for each test discipline. Next, Lynn will be talking about the marking scale.
What we're talking about here when we talk about Test Refresh is we're going to use a scale. And a scale offering a midpoint, indicated in neutral position, increases reliability. This has been researched by statisticians at Stanford University. Most things that we're used to when we talk about a midpoint is, for example, a bell curve or something that has a passing average, for example. Sometimes you're going to be higher, sometimes you're going to be lower. We have that now. We have a passing average defined for each level, and the judge can increase their mark or decrease their mark based on how they feel the skater's doing. That's our current 6-0 system. What was discovered in this research, that scales with a neutral midpoint, 7 points were found to be optimal when communicating graduations in performance. What that means, if you get much higher than a 7-point scale, which we have here right now, the passing average 3+ and 3-, is that it becomes less reliable. So introducing the +3 -3, we are, instead of calling a passing average the 3.0, for example, we're just going to make that a 0 for all levels. The passing average is 0, and that basically meets the test expectations for that level. You can go up, you can go down, but not higher than the 7-point scale that we're talking about here. So here's our new scale that we're going to use. Instead of the 6-0 scale, we're going to use a 0, up to +3, and -3. But what we need to do is we need to define points and understand what each of those levels mean. So we've created the passing average, which is 0. If a test is above average, that would be a +1. If it's clearly above, that would be a +2. And maybe even above that, considering that might be more than one test higher, that would be a +3. Also, conversely, a test that's below passing would be a -1, clearly below a -2, and significantly below a -3.
Now that Lynn has explained our new marking scale, we need to look at how the test levels are linked together. To do this, we will be looking at the marking equivalency between test levels, where a mark of +3 is equivalent to a mark of 0 at one test level above. By marking a +3, a judge communicates that the skater performed at the passing standard of one test level or more above. This slide is another way to look at the marking translation. To help make the translation from what we are familiar with, on the left side is the 6-0 scale, and on the right side is the -3 to +3 scale with marking defined. The pre-juvenile level was used as an example. Just to summarize, passing average is equal to 0. 1/10 up is equivalent to +1, which is above. 2/10 up, +2, clearly above. 3/10 up, +3, one test level or more above. And on the negative end of the scale, 1/10 under, -1, below, 2/10 under, -2, clearly below, 3/10 under, -3, significantly below.
Back to the scale, a lot of people have asked us, Todd. The ISU has changed for competition, the +5, -5, they're using that. Can you talk about how that's a little bit different from what we're doing here on Test Refresh?
Sure, Lynn. With the ISU moving to the +5, -5, that is really element-based. We're arriving at a GOE based on one specific element at a time, whereas with the new test structure, the -3 to +3, we're looking at the whole composite of the test, whether it was a successful test or not, and we're really not identifying the quality of each and individual element and assigning it a GOE as we would in a competition format.
Exactly, and that's something that I want to stress. When we talked about adding the scale, a lot of people feel like we're moving towards IJS for tests, and that is absolutely not what we're trying to do. It's still a scale that we're familiar with now. We use it as a 6-0 scale. We're just changing the scale from the passing average from whatever that test level is to a 0 and going up, down, +3, -3. And as you mentioned, we're not giving a score for each element. Just like now on our technical side of the test, on the test, we give 1 score for the technical. It's just the marking is going to change.
To help with making this change, let's take a look at this test scenario, pre-juvenile moves in the field. Skater excels on the 5-step Mohawk sequence and power pull patterns, but has some quality errors on the outside and inside 3 turns. Using side-by-side test forms, let's go through an example of marking. So the first element on the pre-juvenile moves in the field test is the forward and backward power stroking. Judge marks 2.7, passing average 0. Forward, outside, back, inside 3 turns in the field, 2.6, a 10th under, -1 below. Same for the forward, inside, back, outside 3s. 2.6, 1/10 under, -1 below. Forward and backward power change of edge pulls, 2.8, a 10th up, +1, above. Backward circle 8, 2.7, right on passing average, 0. 5-step Mohawk sequence, 2/10 up, 2.9, +2, clearly above. On the left, total up the marks, 16.3, and circle the result pass. On the right, total up the marks, +1, and circle the result pass.
So what is testing? Testing is a simple check. It's where skaters demonstrate their full understanding of trained skills, proving that they're ready to move on to the next level. And as a judge, we understand what the passing standard is, and we are going to watch the test and determine whether that skater is ready to move on. And again, it's not maybe I'll get lucky. We have experienced judges, we volunteer our time, and we deserve the respect for the skater to have fully prepared their skills and are ready for test day. So what if we say it's just not a test? How can we make that better? Give something for our skaters just to achieve. Instead of I just have to pass this test today to move on to the next level, what if we gave them something to shoot for higher than just passing a test? Is there room for excellence? Can the test be emphasized as more of a developmental tool for achieving greater quality, or just as a pass-fail to move on to the next level? Could more of our skaters achieve greater quality on their tests if they had something to aim higher for? So that's where we came up with honors and distinction. Let's look at the pre-juvenile test again. This skater was very well prepared for the test, and she demonstrated power and quality expected at the juvenile level on the power, forward and backward power stroking and power pulls. Their 3 turns were above pre-juvenile expectations, while the 5-step Mohawk sequence was clearly above the passing average, but not to the quality of the juvenile level. How would this compare? So the power stroking, again, we felt this was 1 test higher, so that would be 3/10 higher than the 2.7 today, but that would translate into a +3 tomorrow. They were above +1 on the 3 turns. And again, 1 test higher, or a +3 on the power pulls. The circle 8 just met standard, 2.7 or 0. And the 5-step Mohawk sequence was a +2, or 2/10 above the 2.7. The skater gets a 17.2. they met the passing total, they still pass. But in the new system, this skater passed this test with a plus 10, where the skater before passed with a plus 1, both passing. But this skater passed with honors. This is something that helps the skater to understand that it's more than just passing a test. They have something more to achieve. We're looking at, on the test certificates, making them say honors or distinction. This looks great on college resumes if they have honor and distinction in schools, when you're going to school to talk to your principal about maybe missing PE for skating credit or whatever it is that you need. These words, honors and distinction, are really important for that.
To highlight a couple of rules, in the case where there is no majority test result among the panel, the second highest result among the panel is awarded. For example, if results are pass, pass with honors, and pass with distinction, the skater is awarded pass with honors. There is also a reskate reminder. A reskate may only be requested if warranted in order to mark a test as pass and not as pass with honors or pass with distinction. One of the topics discussed at this year's PSA conference was skater preparation, following the path of learning the concepts, applying concepts to steps and patterns, continued development of concepts and consistency of performance until they are ready to perform. Skaters have various options in the level of preparedness for testing. If a skater decides to test when they are close to being prepared, there is little room for error in performance on test day. Preparing to be ready above test level expectations, a skater does have a buffer in case of errors in performance on test day. Skaters who more fully develop the concepts introduced at each test level will have an even greater understanding of skating and balance over the blade. By having this greater level of preparedness, skaters have the opportunity to be further recognized with the test result of pass with honors or pass with distinction, and these skaters are more ready to start preparing for the next level. We will be moving from 2 marks to 3 marks. Singles free skate, pair, free dance, partnered and solo. Technical merit is divided into elements and skating, and presentation is equivalent to program. For pattern dance, partnered and solo, technique is the same, and timing and expression are divided into separate marks. Our last topic in this overview is the removal of serious error restriction rules, which mandated a retried test result. Now, allowing judges to use their judgment about the composite of the test, difficulty and quality, while taking into account the prevalence and severity of error, if any, to determine the test result. So, does the skater have the concept? If there was error, was it major, or did the skater have an oops moment? The test result is the composite of what was performed to determine if the skater is ready to move on to the next level. And judges are not required by rules to reskate elements that are not necessary to reskate. This page is included in the Handbook for Tests. It is a reminder about composite judging, taking into account quality, difficulty, and error. A test result is not based solely on the presence or absence of error. Rather, it is the composite of the skater's development and understanding of the concepts, difficulty relative to test level requirements, quality of execution and performance relative to test level expectation, and, as a final check, is the skater ready to move on to the next level?
So our new test sheets are going to be available September 2nd. So if you're preparing for a test session, make sure your test chairs know that they're going to need to get the new sheets if you happen to have a test session on September 2nd. So this ends our presentation right now. And again, thanks to Eric and Todd. And you can ask us any questions, and we'd be happy to answer your questions. So thank you very much.
Thank you.